Before school starts, our next guest has a perfect reading assignment for kids who feel like they don't fit in and are ostracized for it. It can lead to anxiety, depression, or even worse. Tony Weaver Jr. was called weird because he liked superheroes and anime. The bullying got so bad he wanted to end it all. Today, he's using his own journey to help other kids feel seen, understood, and empowered. He turned his story into a graphic novel called Weirdo. He calls it the Nerdy Kid's Instruction Manual for Self-Love and Self-Confidence. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Oh, wow. Okay, you grew up in Atlanta. You had a love for superheroes, you're an avid reader of comics and anime. You like to dress up as heroes. Sounds like any cool kid today, but it wasn't cool for you back then.
100%. I think that the definition of kind of what's cool has shifted a lot since I was younger.
Well, today they have entire conventions wrapped around it, so who's laughing now, right? Okay, but the idea of you connecting to heroes is kind of like, I think, the reason why a lot of kids in particular tap into it to begin with. Extraordinary people and sometimes very ordinary people who have that hidden superpower.
100%. I think what I tell young people is that the things that make you weird are the things that make you powerful. Even though comic books and anime are a bit more mainstream today, I've still visited schools where there are kids that get bullied and othered for liking those sorts of things. The big thing with kids today is that nobody wants to be cringe. Everybody's afraid to be cringe. People don't want to try new things. They don't want to be caught being new at something because they're afraid that it's going to be cringe. But I'm like, man, you got to let that stuff go. You got to embrace who you are. That's where the joy is.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because so many times people go, I want to be different. I want to do this. I want to stand out. But they're too busy working on fitting in.
Yeah. I think that normalcy, this concept of what it means to be normal, is something that we all make up in our heads. Everybody's definition of normal is different. So some people go their entire lives trying to force themselves into a box that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
Normal could be comfortable. Normal means not being seen. Normal means being able to blend in with the crowd. But I deeply believe that the way to live your most impactful life is to walk the path that's set for you, no matter how much attention it draws.
Yeah, and sometimes that word normal for some people can mean they're hiding, right? Let me just blend into the pack there, like you said, not being seen. All right, no matter how many times you dressed up as a superhero, though, you felt like it wasn't quite authentic because you didn't look like any superhero you had seen.
Well, yeah, I think I grew up at a time pre-Black Panther, pre-Miles Morales, and there's certainly been a lot of work in media representation done, but we are still in a space where there are more books about objects or anthropomorphic animals than there are kids of color. So we're really in a place where in the media landscape, representation is improving, but there's still a need for more diverse stories. And in everything that I write, that's a need that I try to meet.
Yeah, you know, when I read that about you dressing up in costumes and you said, I don't look like any of those superheroes, it reminded me of my first Halloween costume. And I was Snow White out of all things. And I just remember, I remember going, the face is not matching everything else, but I just went on with it. All right, because I got candy. All right, the weird kind of, the name that people will call you, weird, weird, weird. It was really hard for you to make friends. You were bullied constantly. And so when you feel that way anyway, any other criticism you get can be magnified. You were a great student, but a teacher once accused you of plagiarism, something you didn't do, but that accusation became, like I said, magnified because you had so many other things going on.
Yeah. So for me, when I was growing up and I wasn't able to kind of find social validation from my peers, I leaned really, really heavily into my grades. The thing that I told myself when I was younger is a thing that I'm sure a lot of kids tell themselves today, which is that if I get good grades, then I'm a good person. Maybe if I can get an A on this test or do really well on this exam, then that'll justify me being here. That'll let me know that I'm a good person. But I worked really hard on an assignment and a teacher accused me of plagiarism on it because she fundamentally didn't believe that I was intelligent enough to submit the work that I submitted to her. And in that moment, it kind of felt like I had nowhere to go. I'm not being validated by social systems. I'm not being validated by academic systems. What is there for me? And it set my mental health on a really negative path.
Yeah, yeah, you got really depressed. And at one point you decided, why am I even here? Let me just end it all.
Yeah. I think that in my darkest moments, when I wasn't able to look in the mirror and love what I saw, the place where I was able to find love was stories. all that stuff that made me weird, those comic books, those anime, those video games, they motivated me and kept me moving forward at a
But
time when I
at one
didn't have
point
the
you got
innate
stuck,
power.
and you weren't moving forward. In seventh grade, you attempted suicide.
Yeah, yeah. It was uh it was a really heavy time for me. It felt like the option that made sense at the time. And we're in a place right now where suicide and depression rates among young people are the highest that they've been since we started measuring.
Yeah.
So for me as a writer, someone who's been in that dark place before, I know there are a lot of kids that are experiencing that darkness right now.
And it's something that we need to really pay attention to, because every time we look at the, the situation, and I don't want to get off into this conversation, but the school shooter situations, all that stuff, there's nothing that we really can say to justify that, but we have to look at why sometimes it happens. Isolation is very, very tough, especially on young people. And that isolation, that feeling of not feeling validated, as we know, it can mean either taking one's own life or going out, taking other lives. So we do need to pay attention to this. One of the things you did to get better was your parents knew enough to take you to therapy.
Yes, and honestly, kudos to my parents because I think mental health conversations for kids don't happen a lot. Mental health conversations in the Black community also don't happen as much as I feel like they should. My parents were like complete fishes out of water. They were like, I have no idea what's going on, but I want to support and help my son. And the therapist that I was able to talk to was deeply, deeply helpful for me.
Yeah. You went on to university. By the way, graduated salutatorian, so congratulations on that. Double majored in acting and strategic communications, and you want to be part of something bigger. You started reaching back and what you had learned and how you had gotten through. You started working with elementary school kids, and one of them taught you a big lesson.
So there was a fourth grade student at a school that I volunteered at named Nazir. And even though we were given very strict instructions about, hey, we're supposed to be talking about whatever they're talking about in class, it's supposed to be tutoring, Nazir always wanted to talk to me about cartoons. And as someone that got made fun of for that type of stuff, it was this moment of like, how do you know that I'm into that type of thing? But also, yes, we can talk about it. I actually feel like this is more important than the school stuff. But what I noticed while I was working with him was that in the fourth grade, he was dealing with the same issues around self-esteem and self-confidence that I was dealing with when I was in middle school. Mm-hmm. And what it made me understand was that the problems that I was dealing with when I was younger aren't individual problems, they're institutional problems. And that moment, it was kind of the inciting incident for me to decide that I wanted to do something to help kids that were dealing with the same problems I dealt with.
Yeah, because Halloween was coming up, and you were like, "Are you going to dress as your favorite hero?" And he said, "I can't because I don't look like him." But what he was going to do was dress as a character from Grand Theft Auto, which we know is a video game about committing crimes.
In the fourth grade, he had to think of who can I be, who can I dress up as, and that was his go-to. And that was a big moment for me. I said, man, you're in the fourth grade and you've already kind of resigned yourself to this specific category. There has to be something that can be done. There has to be something that I can say to you, a way that I can support, and representation was the answer.
Yeah, and the way you're doing that through Weird Enough Productions, a social impact organization. Also, The Uncommons, your web comic, your focus is inclusivity and a new group of heroes where everyone can see themselves. And now your book, Weirdo, the nerdy kids instruction manual. It's interesting how we had that shift where all of a sudden it's like, oh, the Bill Gates of the world and the Michael Dells of the world, like, hey, you're not on the football team, but guess what? You're a billionaire. But so just the nerdy kids instruction manual for self-love and self-confidence. I think it could be a great assignment for kids to read this, especially as school is coming up.
100%. Weirdo, I think, is the kind of quintessential back to school book. At the beginning of the book, I'm a new kid in a new place. And throughout the book, I encounter a lot of new circumstances. What we tell kids very often is to be themselves. But rarely what we do is teach them how to figure out who that is. How am I supposed to be myself when I don't know who I am yet? When I'm simultaneously growing into the person that I will become? Weirdo encompasses a lot of life lessons and things that kids are really going to need as they move through that middle and high school age range. And I've been deeply humbled by the impact that it's had on the kids that have been able to read it so far.
Yeah, and you have a sequel coming up that'll explore stress and anxiety. The bottom line, the message is, I think so many times we look for validation from the outside in, and if you do that, it'll disappoint you every time because somebody else has control. If your validation's from the inside out, you own that, you decide that. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think you and I would have been friends in school. I would have taken you under my wing because I owned my Weirdo from the get-go.
I
Of course,
appreciate
I was
that.
moving all the time, so when I went to 5 different elementary schools, I could reinvent myself each time. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. You can get a copy of Weirdo wherever books are sold. And to learn more about Tony Weaver Jr. and Weird Enough Productions, visit greatdayhouston.com and we will connect you. He also does presentations and events.